Jesus is the way, the truth. Jesus is the life of man. There is no other way to be saved. Give your life to Jesus. Give your life to Jesus, love truth.
Jesus is the way, the truth. Jesus is the life of man. There is no other way to be saved. Give your life to Jesus. Give your life to Jesus, love truth.
Jesus is the way, the truth. Jesus is the life of man. There is no other way to be saved. Give your life to Jesus. Give your life to Jesus, love truth. Jesus is the way, the truth. Jesus is the life of man.
So everyone came to our apartment today. The entire gang is in Tokyo. Lisa told us she's pregnant and everyone congratulated them. Carla decided to lay down in the guest room since she's also pregnant. Bonnie baked us a pie and we announced her pregnancy to the gang. Doctors said that it's going to be a risky pregnancy since she has endometriosis. So all we can do is pray for the child. We were going through a few old videos on Bonnie's laptop and came across a few videos on Titanic. We discussed that all afternoon, wondering what it would be like if we were all passengers on the doomed liner. If I was a passenger on the Titanic, I'd probably be an immigrant, in steerage. I'd be traveling with my Australian wife, with $100 in my pocket.
How would an immigrant get that much money? $100 was a lot of money in 1912.
I'd probably sell everything I owned. I'd probably have great hope for a new life in America and my name would be something like Harold Acrylic, an Italian-American trying to get back home.
They all had such high hopes, especially the immigrants, of making a new life in America. And were looking so much forward to it that, of course, everything went wrong.
What do you think, Yvonne? This is the beginning of our new lives. When I left America, I told my folks that I'd return with a wife. Now I'm going back to New York with my young bride.
Getting onto the Titanic with my new husband was supposed to be a dream come true. We sold everything we had to buy those tickets. This was supposed to make me happy, but it's like I couldn't sleep all 4 of those nights on the Titanic. I never figured out why I was so uneasy.
My mother had a premonition, and she never went to bed in that ship at night at all. She sat up every night. So she slept during the day, and I was with my father, and thinking how odd it was that my mother was never up during the day. But from the very word go, she knew there was something to be afraid of.
I've been reading a lot about J.J. Astor lately.
Who's that?
The richest man on the Titanic. Was traveling with his new wife Madeline.
So he had divorced his former wife.
Yeah, and getting married for the second time is a sin before God. He died in the sin of adultery, because if you remarry while your former spouse is still alive you commit adultery.
How many people died on the Titanic anyway?
I don't know, maybe 300.
I heard that 1,500 people died when the Titanic sank. We talked about it last week. There weren't enough lifeboats on the ship.
What if I was a passenger on the Titanic? I'd probably be a millionaire in the first class.
Ooh, what would be your name?
Let me think. William Choi, the richest Korean on the Titanic.
But you can't use your real surname.
Oh. What about William Wang, heir to some gold mine fortune? Traveling with his wife.
Nice.
Who would you be?
I've read about this woman Violet, who survived 3 shipwrecks. So I'd probably be the unsinkable Valerie Woodall or something, some American nurse traveling second class.
Impressive.
I wonder what we'd look like. What about you, Lisa? What if you were on the Titanic?
Black people weren't allowed onto the Titanic.
Yes, they were. There was a black man on the Titanic.
Really? In 1912.
Yes, Lisa. I think he had married a white woman.
Well, there were no black women on the Titanic. So it wouldn't seem realistic if I put myself there. Let's face it, you wouldn't find a black woman in any of the higher ranks of society, at least not in 1912.
Why? 'Cause now that I think about it,
It's not a big deal, but I think it's because black women are considered the least in society. I think most violence and murder is committed against black women, in any society. But, that's life, I guess.
yeah. I guess the greatest test that most Christians will fail is the test of how they've treated the lowest members of society. Because the Bible says that what you've done to the least of these, you've done to him.
True. But it's not like any black woman regrets not being on the Titanic, after the way it sank.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what my character would do on the RMS Titanic.
Ha! First class ticket on her maiden voyage. I truly am one of the wealthiest men on this ship. What a marvel of a ship, such decadent design. What brilliance.
So this is the unsinkable pride of the White Star Line. What a marvel of a ship, William. Well done.
To say that the ship was unsinkable, which indeed was what was claimed. To say a ship was unsinkable was flying in the face of God.
There was something about the Titanic that was so very formal. It was so stiff. The atmosphere was stiff. The coziness, well, you know, the kind of get-together feeling, it didn't exist.
As a nurse on board the Titanic, I didn't think that my training would not be able to help me save these people. I was going to America for a new job. Nothing in all the world could have prepared me for what was coming.
Does talking about this incident bother you like you have been today?
Talking about it? I should probably dream of that tonight. Have another nightmare. You'd think I'm too old for that, but you'd be amazed. You lie in bed at night and the whole thing comes round again.
If I was traveling in steerage, would I be able to walk on the deck with my wife?
That would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Probably. During the sunlight you'd have plenty of time to walk around on deck.
Someone must have received the warning. A warning from God. I can't accept the fact that these people had no warning from God. The Lord Jesus Christ will always speak to warn his children. That is what I believe.
Maybe he did speak to some of the people. And maybe they didn't take his warnings seriously.
How did you sleep last night? I was asleep in the bunk beneath yours.
Yeah, I heard you snoring.
Sorry.
Oh Harold, my dreams were awful. I was drenched in sweat by the time that I woke up.
Really? What did you dream about?
A mountain, big and white. It fell on me, and I had never seen such a big mountain in the middle of the sea, of all places.
A white mountain? Interesting.
When I woke up, I was in shock. So I decided to read my Bible, and guess what I read?
What?
It was in the book of Zechariah, chapter 7. I still remember those words, from verse 12 and 13. Yea, they made their hearts as an adamant stone, lest they should hear the law, and the words which the Lord of hosts hath sent in his Spirit by the former prophets. Therefore came a great wrath from the Lord of hosts. Therefore it is come to pass, that as he cried, and they would not hear, so they cried, and I would not hear, saith the Lord of hosts.
You remembered all that?
But you knew something had happened, and one man said, "Look at that. That's an iceberg. And it's a whopper." Because you know, there's 1/8 above the water and 7/8 below. And this blooming thing's all the way over the top of the ship. Thought nothing of it. We picked up the bits of ice, and most of us prayed snowballs.
I wonder what it was like, attending a ball on the Titanic. Oh, what a dream it must have been to be among such wealthy people.
I know, right? I'd probably bump into a famous person just to introduce myself.
And I'd definitely be trying all the appetizers that they have.
I wonder what they ate in 1912.
Ooh, let's look it up. I'm sure I could learn a recipe or two.
I don't think there were vegans in 1912.
Really?
Yeah, veganism is probably a trend that was caused by the global food shortages. With the abundance of food in the early 1900s, veganism was probably a 2-week diet.
I don't think so. Veganism has always been there. Oh, William, there's so many famous people are on the ship. They say Benjamin Guggenheim is on this ship.
Let's go to the ball. I'll bump into an Esther, then you introduce yourself. I'll swoop in with a business card and a handshake.
Oh, William, you're so slick. I hope I get to give them my portfolio. This place is lovely, isn't it?
It is. My name is Valerie Woodall. I'm a nurse.
My name is Meredith Wang. I'm a housewife.
Really? How many years have you studied for that?
Oh dear, Valerie, you're not the brightest apple on the tree, are you? So, what will you be doing in New York?
I will be looking for work, anywhere that needs a nurse. Thought I'd relocate to New York.
Fire burning in the Titanic coal room directly under the pool, and that people knew about it.
Really? A fire on the ship?
Yeah, it could be that the fire compromised the wall of the ship. That would mean that anything could have caused the wall to split open, an iceberg or a whale perhaps. Just my thoughts. What do you think?
Well, that would make sense to me, because a lot of people said that they saw a light in the distance and thought they would get saved by a nearby ship.
Really?
Yeah. I talked about that with my friends once, who assumed that the sinking of the Titanic could have been for the insurance, and the nearby ships saw the distress signals and heard the cries. But they were probably passing the Titanic to make sure that it was gone, and they could claim a large sum of insurance money.
That would make sense. I think that many people saw lights in the distance, and I think some people were going to the lights that they saw.
At 12:45, Titanic officers spotted a dim light coming from a mysterious ship in the distance. Fourth Officer Joseph Boxall began firing distress rockets.
Because for hours, they were chasing after these ship lights in the distance, which eventually petered into the darkness. They just disappeared as the screams of dying victims echoed behind them. Was this a phantom ship? I don't know. The people aboard this lifeboat certainly believed so.
Then the fire in the coal room, as well as the ships that ignored her distress signals, could mean the Titanic was set up to be a sacrifice from the moment she left for New York, and that does not make sense. 1,500 people could not be a human sacrifice. That thought is ridiculous. It was an accident. Captain Smith was too smart of a captain to deliberately kill 1,500 people.
If you were on board the Titanic, who would you be?
Ricardo, a French man going to America.
I also speak French, fluently at that.
Then we will have a conversation, yes?
Oui.
Bonnie and I invited the gang over to Tokyo for Christmas. Lisa and Franco are expecting us, well as Mike and Carla. We found out that we were expecting as well. Bonnie is a few weeks along. This is really great news, because all 3 of our kids will be about the same age. Now we are at my apartment in Tokyo, discussing what it would have been like if we were all passengers on the RMS Titanic. It's the 14th of April 1912, in the morning. What would Sunday the 14th of April be like? 1,500 people would be approaching their deaths by then.
Since my character is traveling first class, I'd probably be sending a few telegrams to my cousins or something. What in the world could women amuse themselves with in 1912?
I think Titanic received a few telegrams about an ice field. I read that in the late afternoon the Titanic gets a message from the German ship, SS America. The radio operators tell the Titanic that it's just passed 2 large icebergs. Smith didn't get that warning I read.
Apparently Captain Smith told his staff that they didn't need to bother with the lifeboat drill. We need to remember that only 5% were able seamen. I think Captain Smith knew that the lifeboats were too few.
All the more reason to do a lifeboat drill.
Oh William, the sea is so calm. What a wonderful idea to travel this time of the year.
Sure, dollface.
What do you think of my new dress? I want to look my best before the Countess of Roths.
You look great, really. Just don't forget to tell her about your fashion line. Self-promotion is a gem.
Naturally.
So these are the lifeboats?
Yes. But I did some calculations, William. There are only 22 or 24 lifeboats. Not sure how many there are. Last night I heard that they were less than 30.
Yeah, so what?
There are more than 2,000 people on this ship. These boats are early enough. And how on earth would third-class passengers make it to the promenade deck in time if they were going to use these boats?
Who cares, Meredith? It's not like we're ever going to use them. Now tell me, do I look like I'm gaining weight?
No, you look like you've lost a bit of weight, William. Have you been on a diet lately?
No, I just let myself go, here and there. So I thought that I gained some weight.
By the way, William, did you eat my cranberry pie yesterday? I really wanted to eat it once I got back to the cabin, but it was gone.
Oh, really? There was a cranberry pie in the fridge.
Yes, William, a big one at that. I had planned to eat half of it last night, and the other half this morning.
About that pie. You won't believe it, but a lion came to our room, 'cause it's like there was a circus performance. So the lion was growling at me, and I had to put something into its mouth to keep it from eating me. So I remembered the pie in the fridge.
Oh, William, you've always been rubbish at telling lies. You ate my pie, didn't you?
Well, I shared it with the lion, naturally.
William, you could have left me a piece. Why did you finish all of it?
I'm sorry, it was so good. I couldn't stop eating it once I started.
Why would you think I'd believe a story about lions on the ship?
This ship is huge. There could be lions in a cage, for all we know.
Stop telling lies, William. No one ever believes your absurd tales.
Sometimes they do.
When has anyone ever believed your lies, William?
The time that I lied about being the president of Cape Coon.
Everyone knew that Cape Coon wasn't a country. We kept quiet to spare you the humiliation.
To think that these people had such little time left by that point.
At least they didn't have the evil media and pitfalls to hell that most people have today.
What do you mean, Bon?
These days, almost everything is designed to take people to hell or cause them to sin. I've read a testimony from Rachel Mashallah, remember the woman that you told me about?
Yeah.
There are programs and movies that are written by Satan, and brought to earth by satanic agents. These are Barbie, Mugpit, Scooby-Doo, Ben 10, Avatar and Pixel Pinky. Then there are satanic movies, like the Walt Disney versions of Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, and The Little Mermaid. These movies and programs come from hell, to take more people to hell, even children. All these cartoons have demons assigned to them, probably to possess the people that watch them and ruin their lives.
I knew The Little Mermaid was evil. We watched it as kids, but Kelly would scream when she saw the mermaids. She couldn't understand what mermaids were, and my dad eventually got rid of those DVDs.
We didn't have a TV on our farm, where I grew up.
Nice.
Then they talk of an animated Christian movie about Moses, produced by Nest. It also has demons. All these cartoons were drawn in demon images. Then there were the magazines. The Watchtower, a magazine produced by Jehovah's Witnesses, is demonic, and Jesus doesn't want his children reading those books.
Really? Wow. Then I suppose that David needs to pay a visit to Erica.
Erica? Who's that?
I can't believe that Lisa brought it up.
Erica is this devastatingly beautiful blonde that David had a crush on in junior high. Well, he was obsessed with Jessica, of course, but then we met Erica on a camping trip to Wisconsin.
I know about Jessica, but Erica.
Erica was a Jehovah's Witness that I met at a summer camp with Lisa. She's like the complete package, and all the guys at summer camp had a crush on her. She was like the mixture of every supermodel that has ever walked any runway. And she actually modeled in France.
Oh, well, you should definitely talk to her about the Watchtower being a demonic book. And since she's a model, you should also tell her that makeup, jewelry, fake hair, false eyelashes as well as tight and revealing clothes can land women in hell.
I would like to tell her, but I had a crush on her. Maybe I'm not the person to do it.
I could come with you, if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be best. Wisconsin in January, with my wife.
Great. We'll be going to Wisconsin. Hopefully we can reach more than one person.
$90,000. That's what a Titanic first-class ticket would cost in today's money. To think that some people paid that much money for their deaths, ultimately.
It's 9:40 p.m. and the Titanic receives another warning from Miss Saba. Apparently Jack Phillips never relayed these warnings to Captain Smith. This is a fatal mistake.
Why?
He could have saved the ship. Remember that Captain Smith had already changed the direction of the ship at the first few warnings that he did get. If he had received these warnings, he would probably have slowed down, or stopped the ship for the night. This is a very experienced man, working with an inexperienced crew. Only 5% were able seamen.
That makes sense.
Now it's 11 p.m. when the iceberg is seen by the lookouts. Richard Murdoch gives the order for the ship to hard to starboard, reverse the engines. Then he tells them to lock all the airtight doors to the compartments.
At 11:49 it scrapes past a gigantic iceberg. I think they were traveling at 22 knots.
They couldn't turn fast enough.
7 tons of water a second, I heard. By 11:50 so much water has entered the ship that the front part is risen.
The closest ship is the Frankfurt, which is 170 miles away, 315 kilometers.
It will go into history as the one disaster for which there was no excuse for anyone to die. If the Titanic had had enough lifeboats, nobody would have died, because there was plenty of time to save everyone.
Then you went up on deck.
And then I went up on deck, and then we were told to go down, that there was a piece of ice on deck, and that when they get it off of it, everything would be all right, to go down and go to bed.
How did you escape?
Well, we were standing on the steerage, third class they call it, and then we couldn't get up second. And of course then there was one man with us, and he was our guardian angel, and he said, for God's sake, let the women up. So at that I got up
And then you
second.
And then you got into a lifeboat?
And no, then I had to go to first cabin. The lifeboats were only going from first cabin. So there was a man on the second deck, and he asked me to go on his shoulder, and I climbed over, and then I got, I think it was the last boat that
It's 12:20. The Carpathia changes course to come to our rescue. I try to get my wife to a lifeboat, women and children first. Since I'm traveling in steerage, I can't get to the promenade deck. We're caged in like animals, and the water is filling up fast. I take a detour with Yvonne. I'm going to get her.
Harold, the water is so cold, I can't feel my legs.
Hang in there, Yvonne. I think there's a way out. Maybe we could get out through a window.
and jump into the sea. I'm so cold, Harold. What must the ocean feel like?
Let's keep looking. I'm sure there's a way out.
We've only been married for a month, Harold. It can't end here.
We will make it out, together. If we don't, we will die together. Till death do us part.
Till death us do part.
Meredith, I found your lifeboat.
Great. Let's go.
I'm not coming, Mary. Women and children first.
No, William. Throw some money at them.
Won't work, Meredith. But I'm safer on the ship than in those tiny cold lifeboats. Carpentier will be here in no time. Come on, dollface. Cheer up. It's not goodbye.
It's never goodbye.
Down very slowly, and these people were standing there at the decks, at the railing, wishing somebody, I suppose, would come and rescue them. But finally it did go down, and all the people who were standing at the decks, at the railing, jumped. They jumped and they screamed and they yelled for help. And of course nobody came to help.